is here. Up to the mountain we love to go, to find the presence of the Lord. Along the banks of the river we run, with dancing and laughter, giving praise to the sun. The river of God sets our feet to dancing. The river of God fills our hearts with cheer. The river of God fills our mouths with laughter, and we rejoice for the river is here. The river of God sets our feet to dancing. The river of God fills our hearts with cheer. The river of God fills our mouths with laughter, and we rejoice for the river is here. Up to the mountain we love to go, to find the presence of the Lord. Along the banks of the river we run, with dancing and laughter, giving praise to the sun. The river of God sets our feet to dancing. The river of God fills our hearts with cheer. The river of God fills our mouths with laughter, and we rejoice for the river is here. The river of God sets our feet to dancing. The river of God fills our hearts with cheer. The river of God fills our mouths with laughter, and we rejoice for the river is here. And we rejoice for the river is here. And we rejoice for the river is here.
You gotta take
the Lord with you everywhere you go.
You've got to take
the Lord with you everywhere you go.
You've got to take
the Lord with you everywhere you go.
in the street,
In the street, in the home,
on the job,
on the job,
highways,
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 highways, highways.
You gotta love
One another everywhere you go.
You've got to love
One another everywhere you go.
You've got to love
One another everywhere you go.
in the street,
In the street, in the home,
on the job,
on the job,
highways,
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 highways.
You got to pray.
Praise the Lord daily, children, everywhere you go.
Oh, you've got to pray.
Praise the Lord daily, children, everywhere you go.
You've got to pray.
Praise the Lord daily, children, everywhere you go.
In the street,
In the street, in the home,
on the job,
on the job,
highways,
highways, highways,
highways,
highways.
in the street,
In the street,
in the home,
in the home,
on the job,
on the job,
highways,
highways, highways,
highways. You gotta take
the Lord with you.
Oh, 20 years old. Really? Yeah. And, in Amarillo. Oh, okay. And.
Oh, yeah, that's a
That's
windy
not,
place to fly,
well,
unless it's-
well, it is. It's a great place to take.
Because it's kind of the,
Because you learn all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
all kinds of weather and stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
when I was doing that, I never got sick.
Okay,
Oh, sure.
we're gonna get started here and, a little bit of a preamble before we get going. Oh, this is kind of close. Or maybe you guys need to sit back. Yeah, I know it is. Well, good morning and welcome to those that are watching at home to the Rio Rancho Church of Christ. Got a few announcements this morning. memorial service for Shai Lee yesterday for her child that passed. On behalf of the Johnson family, they want to extend thanks and appreciation for everybody that helped out and everyone that participated in there. Elaine Green apparently, I guess, went to the hospital this week and has developed some blood clots. But she's back home now, so let's keep her in our prayers. Jennifer is still at home. Jennifer Welch is still at home recovering from her fall. I don't know if we're still doing the meal train or not for them. Does anybody know?
Not that I know of.
I know it's been a couple of weeks already.
Yeah, not that I know of.
Okay. Well, you can always have pizza delivery, I guess. Is that right, Jim?
Yeah.
Debbie Trujillo, she's going to be having knee surgery here pretty quick, in a couple weeks. So just keep her in mind. The Graces, Roy and Jolene are really under the weather. I don't know if it was some bad food or whatever, but they both have been up chucking and got the fever and all that stuff. And then Jolene's going to be having some kind of a surgery later. I think it's a shoulder. Jerry, is that right? That sounds about right, shoulder? Okay. And then Jerry, she's still recovering slowly. She moved out of the place that she was at. Now she's at a different location, and the address is in the bulletin. Ray and Christina, I guess they're still having slight issues with the children, so let's keep them in mind. First responders, military people, people at the hospitals and like that have been fighting this battle for about the past year. So, does anybody else have anyone they want to bring up or anyone that comes to mind? Anybody? Alan? Okay. We'll let it go with that. We're still on schedule, as far as I know, to have the extravaganza, as it's called. Good morning. Good morning. That's going to be after services on the 4th of April, starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The men's breakfast, we started that up again last month. And that's going to be the first Saturday of April, which is the 3rd at 9 o'clock. I think Sean was trying to lobby for having it at 5 in the morning during the week, but I don't know. 5 o'clock's pretty early for me. I don't know about everybody else.
Well, Ray Herrera and I are going to be fixing it, and I guarantee you we won't be here at 5 o'clock in the morning.
You gonna be here at 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Nowhere close.
On Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't even get up till about 9 anyway.
I was going to say it's going to be a brunch more than anything else.
Well, there you go. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. We're just going over a few things. Is there anything or anybody that comes to mind that you want to?
I got to visit with Jerry outside.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a possibility for future.
Okay.
But the weather's nice.
That's good. That's good. How's she doing?
She's doing okay.
Yeah, she's always sounds a little, well, I don't want to say depressed, but
Yeah.
she really wants to get back, and so does Francis and a few other people that I call. And I can hardly wait to get back in, to the congregation and get back and services and all that. And I said, well, I think we're getting closer and closer. So we just need to keep those people in mind. Okay, so anyone else other than David him and Ray are going to make an attempt at cooking the breakfast. Or are you just going to
No, attempt. I'm a good cook.
Are you just going to bring some takeout breakfast burritos or something?
No.
They're making it.
We're making it.
We've already talked about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, when will it actually be ready at 9 o'clock, or should
Oh,
I
yeah.
show up about 9:30?
No, show 9:30, it'll be gone. I'm a good cook, brother. I'm a good cook. I'm not a great one, but I'm a good one. I was taught well growing up.
Well, you're still here, I guess.
Yeah?
I have a brother-in-law. Just a real side note here. We're doing, many years ago, we were doing, replacing his roof. So it's me and him, one of his sons, my older son, we're up there hammering away. My wife and his wife and a couple of the other girls said, well, we're just gonna go do a little bit of shopping. Okay, go ahead, knock yourself out. So they go shopping, we're up there, and then he's gotta pick like August to do this, you know, in the heat of the day. So we're up there for about 4 or 5 hours or so, and then he tells me, he says, well, I'm starting to get a little bit hungry. I says, well, so let's go make something to eat. He goes, no, we gotta wait for the girls to get back so they can cook something for us. I go, what are you talking about? I says, you're telling me you can't even make an egg or make a sandwich or anything on your own? He goes, well, he kind of makes this little face that he makes. And I said, oh, the heck with that. I said, let's go down in the kitchen and show me what you got. I said, I'll throw something together, you know, and then as we're talking a little bit more along in the morning, I said, man, I says, I bet you can't even boil water. You could probably burn water, I bet.
Yeah.
You're one of those guys that can burn water. And how that happens, I don't know, but, and he's still like that pretty much to this day. And he's one of the few people that, probably the only one I know, way back when, that could go, I don't know if they've ever had any, a fast food called Wiener Schnitzel around here.
Oh, yeah.
He's the only person I know that could actually go in there and write a check, you know, way back when, to pay for, you know, a $3 or $4 bill. I said, and they know him there. I said, you must go here, because it's right around the corner from his house. I says, you must go here all the time. And I says, I mean, I'm not that crazy about Wiener Schnitzel, but
No.
I imagine he's had more than one meal over there.
They used to be pretty good.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they have them around here. There's this place back where we came from called Casper's Hot Dogs.
No.
Oh, everybody, a lot of people I know just rave about it. I said, yeah, and it's not too far from my other house over there. And so I said, one day we were driving by, I said, I'm gonna stop and see what these hot dogs are all about. I wouldn't even let my dog eat one of those. They are terrible. They are terrible. Okay. So anyway, all right. Well, let me grab my notebook. We'll start on something until Raymond gets here. Whether I need my glasses or not. Okay. So I'll just do something short until Raymond gets here. And we'll see how far we get. I'm sure everybody in here has heard the term lucky. Oh, you're lucky that whatever the case may be, you know. You go to Walmart, you go to the mall, and especially during Christmas time, during the holidays, you're looking for a place to park. You go up and down these rows, maybe, and then, all of a sudden, this guy pulls out right next to the entrance. He says, oh man, then you say, oh man, I was lucky I found that spot. Or I was lucky that guy pulled out. Well, or, I mean, everybody I'm sure has some kind of example that they can say they were lucky. I kind of like to say, make the comparison, were you lucky or were you blessed? Did something happen to you that you can be thankful for, and, you know, that God's blessed you with? You know, and I got one definition of luck, is the success or failure determined by chance other than by your own actions. So some people can say, well, that was a fluke. Fate is another term that people use. Well, it's, it's fate. It was destined to happen anyway. And I kind of don't see it that way. But does anybody have an example or that they want to share?
Well, I
besides
don't have an
David?
example necessarily. What
Go
I
ahead.
have found is that most people tend to refer to that
Mhm.
the more they don't acknowledge a higher power overseeing things.
Yeah, and I've heard some people in the church, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
let me see how can we say this without making it sound bad. The more mature people, how about that? I don't want to say elderly or old, but and I'm starting to get there too, those of us that are in the,
I'm there.
hey, I heard that.
I'm there.
Those of us that are, okay, let's say, are eligible for the senior menu at the restaurants, or the senior discounts. Okay, I'll just let it go at that. And they don't say it maliciously or anything like that. It's just that, oh man, that was a lucky break, or, this happened to me. And then I got, what are some of the symbols, I guess, that people use to determine luck?
Rabbit's foot,
Rabbit's foot,
four-leaf clover.
four-leaf clover. I found one of those actually one time.
I found several of them.
I found one. Drawing straws, maybe? And that was even done, well, they didn't have straws back in the biblical days, but they cast, I guess they used sticks or something, and they cast lots for different things. So, I mean, is that based on superstition, or, I don't know how to characterize it.
One of the most interesting passages to me, well, there's two of them actually. One of them is in Acts 1, at the end of it, when they get ready to replace Judas Iscariot.
Mm-hmm.
And the method they went through was basically like rolling dice.
Oh, yeah.
But it was bones, I get. And how that's controlled by God, and somehow I think that was. And then back in the Old Testament, the priest would wear the breastplate with the Urim and Thummim. And I don't know how that worked on getting things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, some of the more common ones that most everybody knows is the rabbit's foot, the four-leaf clover.
Horseshoe.
Yeah, the horseshoe over the thing. My little thing is, well, it's not mine, but then somebody brings up a lucky rabbit's foot. And I said, well, it wasn't very lucky for the rabbit. And they just get a chuckle. And then we kind of expound a little bit on the conversation. Is there such a thing as a luck? I don't know. Some people have different philosophies on that.
Over in the Middle East and the Mediterranean area, they have what they call evil eye to kind of ward off bad influences.
Walking under a ladder. I've done that more than once. Or you're going down the street or somewhere or on the farm or whatever, and a black cat walks in front of you. It kind of ruins your whole day. Some people. I mean, a cat's a cat, right? What difference does it make what color it is, if it's green or orange or whatever? Now, going back to a congregation we came from, we had this lady, senior lady, not old, but senior, and she got to be known around town as the cat lady, because it was her mission to go, and it was a small community, probably about 18, 20,000 people. But her mission was to go out and feed as many stray cats as she could. I mean, she devoted, well, besides the time, money. I would talk to her husband every now and then, and I go, well, what's the story? I mean, you can't understand it, why her reasoning why she's doing this. And then one day I was at Costco, and they were there. She had one of those flat cart, or what you call them, those flat carts and stacked with cat food. She must have had 8 or 9 of those big bags, cases of the canned food. And they happened to just be in front of me in line. I go, hey, Dwayne, what's the story here? You know? And then she looked at me and I said, hello, how you doing? But then she says, well, I get the canned food for the cats that are too old, they can't chew the regular food. I go, well, okay, each his own. You know? Me personally, I could think of a better way to spend that money on kids, you know, orphan kids or whatever. But anyway, to get to my point, one day, I'm not exactly sure where she was, but there was a cat that was up in a tree, probably 40, 50 feet up. She takes it upon herself to climb up that tree because that poor cat, you know, if I don't get it down, what's going to happen to it? You know, and then later on I told her, I said, hey, you know what? The cat found its way up there. It's going to find its way back down. But the point of my story was that while she was up there trying to rescue this cat, she lost her balance and fell. And she dropped that 40 or 50 feet. And I'm sure there's probably a few branches that broke her fall. But she didn't get hurt real bad. She was a little sore. Now, was she lucky that she didn't die? I don't know. I'm more leaning towards the other side, that God was watching over her. Maybe there was a lesson there for her, you know, to be had, that maybe you shouldn't be doing that, you know?
So is being lucky the same thing as being fortunate?
It's a different word.
Is it?
Just a different, different terminology. That's the way I take it. You know, like walking down the street and finding a $10 bill by your car. Was that just a fortunate circumstance or lucky?
Actually, you put a lot of work in looking for stuff like that, so that's just payoff.
Okay. But anyway, that's the one story. We heard about her brother. Actually, her brother's one of the elders where we came from, but he told us that story, and I says that she's got no broken bones, a little bit of bruising, but you know, she survived. It was the main thing. You know, 40, 50 feet is quite a distance, you know. But that didn't stop her from, you know, about a week later, she's right back out there taking care of them cats. But anyway, when another gentleman, older gentleman, went fishing by himself. Make a long story short, he was out there. You gonna do your lesson?
I need to sit down.
Okay. He's getting old. So he's walking like me. But anyway, he went fishing. Make a long story short, something happened, and he ended up capsizing. I didn't want to say that, but the boat tipped over, capsized, and he was out there on the lake all by himself. Somehow, and I know where it came from, but somehow he had the strength to, you know, get out from under the boat. And I'm just assuming he wears all this fishing gear, so, you know, when that gets wet, it weighs you down. So, but somehow he managed to make it to shore. And he basically collapsed there. Until somebody happened, luckily, somebody came by and saw him and found him and got him some medical attention. Now, when he told that story, I said, hey, I said, you think you were lucky that day? He goes, you know, I don't know. I got to think there was a higher power watching over me, you know. I said, well, that's kind of the direction I was leaning. But that would have been considered a lucky break, you know. Number one, that he was able to pull himself to shore. Number two, somebody just happened to come by and saw him. You know, how often does that happen? You know, when you're in the middle of the lake. Another younger gentleman, actually he's living on the east side of the state here now. His name's Josh. Loved to ride a motorcycle. Oh, Alan's head popped up. And loved to ride a motorcycle, so he's out there tooling around. Got in this hellacious accident. Should have been killed. Because I've seen accidents you know, not very many worse than what he was involved in. And when you're on Alan knows, when you're riding a motorcycle, it's real easy because most people aren't looking for that when they're driving. And one of the most common things, people make a left turn in front of you, and that's happened to me a couple times, where I was able to foresee a little bit, and I go, this clown is going to turn. So I slow down, and sure enough, there he goes. But this guy, man, his bike was just mangled, and he was a mess. He was in the hospital for almost a month. And he came back to services, and I said, Josh, I go, what happened? So he told me, I said, man, I said, somebody's watching over you. I said, don't take it the wrong way, but realistically, I said, you should have been killed. You know, but, you know, it's just one of those things. You know, most people will say, man, that was a lucky break I had. But anyway, 9/11, everybody knows when that was and what happened and all that. Well, I heard about a story about this gentleman that was on his way to the airport to catch one of the flights. Had a flat tire. Got a flat tire on his car. Yeah, he was all upset about it. He's going to miss his flight. He had some kind of business connection he was going to. So he's waiting for the tow truck, and almost an hour went by before he was able to get back on the road. Now he's even more upset because the plane's gone. He missed the flight, but found out what happened. And the way I understood the story, he just sat there for 10, 15, 20 minutes just pondering what had happened. And he said, made the same comment. He said, man, I didn't think so at the time, but that was a lucky break that my car had a flat tire. I mean, that's one way to look at it. That's a common way everybody would probably look at it. But, I mean, was there a hand there for, you know, for God's power? That maybe, and I don't know the rest of the story. Maybe that gentleman went on to do something that affected several people, or maybe not. But he was spared for some reason, and you know, and God did that. I don't know. And then to go along that line, I don't know if anybody's seen the movie called. Oh God, I can't even think of the name of it anymore. But anyway, it's got to do with 9/11 when some of the firefighters went into the second tower looking for people. And then the part that they were in collapsed. Is anybody familiar with that story? I wish I could remember the name of the movie. But anyway, they were in there. There's 3 or 4 firefighters, and the tower collapsed, basically right on top of them. But the way I guess the elevator shaft and the hallways or whatever, the way it was made, they were able to be in a little pocket that helped them survive. Now, the rest of their comrades were, these guys, you know, they couldn't find them, and they were pretty sure they had been killed. But later on in the day, you know, they're in there, and other firefighters are looking for survivors, and they hear these little noises, people yelling, help, you know, we're over here. And they found them. So, I mean, was that a lucky break, or did God have a hand in that? You know, I'd like to think it was God's doing that spared them for some reason. And again, I don't know if there's more to the story, if they went on to do something else or something extraordinary. But, you know, and I actually got to talk to a couple of firefighters. My daughter and I went to the Police Olympics in Reno, Nevada one year. They hold every year. And there's a couple of firemen and a couple of police officers. They had this gigantic quilt that some ladies took the time to make for the memorial. And they were just touring across different places in the country. And I actually had a chance to talk to those guys, and I tell you, it's, unless you've been there, real similar to like the people that, sailors and stuff that survived Pearl Harbor. You know, we all know what happened there. But there was some that did survive. you know, what they went through. David mentioned earlier, he was on this airplane and the pilot said, yeah, this is where the Titanic went down, which is not what you want to hear when you're, you know, 10,000 feet up in the air. But the point was that even on the, and I happened to watch part of the movie the other day, it came out on TV, Titanic. And yeah, I'm sure a little bit of it is dramatized and all that, but to be one of those people that were on the boat, on the ship, and then furthermore, be one of the people that happened to survive what they went through. I just can't imagine any of that. But, you know, it just goes to have the comparison. Well, were these people lucky, or again, is God's hand in there? You know, back in our part of the country where we came from, I think it was 1989. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, which I probably am. But they had the earthquake there in the Bay Area. Is that 89?
Yep.
Okay. How do you remember that?
Because I just left there.
Really?
Yeah, I just flown out of San Jose the Sunday before that thing hit. And a bunch of my coworkers were out there.
Oh, man. Yeah, the point is, if you guys have never been to the Bay Area, they have the Bay Bridge. I mean, everybody knows the Golden Gate Bridge. But the Bay Bridge is a double-decker bridge, one way in each direction. And I saw in the news and photos later the damage. The top portion, a majority of the top portion of the bridge collapsed on the bottom section. And, you know, several people got killed in that, but, you know, a lot of them survived as well. But, you know, again, I just can't imagine going through stuff like that. You think about it, you read about it, you hear about it, maybe you watch a movie about it, but I happened to be home at work the day that 9/11 happened, and I was sitting down having some coffee, and all of a sudden, on whatever channel you're on, I'm sure the news flashed, but you could see the towers as they were collapsing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, what is going on here? You know? But then when the second one came, I said, well, I can pretty much figure out what's going on here. But just to see it, just basically collapse on itself. And that, I just couldn't imagine being in there. But, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's crazy. But the Bay Bridge, I remember Raymond was, okay, if it was in 89, he was 9 years old. Or gonna be 9 years old. We were at one of the parks, he was playing flag football. So I'm out there watching him, got my little chair out there and watching the game. And then I look up and all of a sudden, I see the trees. Back there where we came from, there's all kind of huge trees. Okay, for those that don't know, not familiar with what a tree is. But anyway, these gigantic, and they're big, these big trees were just, you know, going waving back and forth like this. And then the few telephone poles that were there were doing the same thing. And then I could feel a little, I said, something's not right here. And then I look up and the ground is doing this. I mean, severely. And I'm going, whoa. I said, this is an earthquake, you know. I said, and I thought to myself, this is pretty cool. But, and we were probably 80 miles, 90 miles from the epicenter. But it traveled that far and it was still that strong. And I'm going, whoa. But, well, needless to say, the game was over. And I said, well, let's keep going. But that, and then we found out later in the day, that was the one in the Bay Area that collapsed the bridge. But anyway, now were people lucky in that accord? Could say so. You have the Bible open? Mm-hmm. Can you turn to Psalms 31:19 and read that for us? Jim, can you stay in Psalms and read 128:1? And we'll make reference to those two verses. So Janice, yours is Psalm 31, verse 19. And Jim, yours is 128, verse 1.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Thy great is thy goodness, which thou hast stored up for those who fear thee, which thou hast wrought for those who take refuge in thee, before the sons of men.
Okay. So that's some pretty good comfort right there. Things may happen to us that don't seem so comfortable at the time, but when you take the time to think about it, it's really amazing. Jim, can you do yours now? 128:1.
Blessed are all who fear the Lord and walk in his ways.
Okay. Now, when we say fear the Lord, and that's sprinkled throughout the Bible, when we say fear the Lord, should that mean for us to be afraid of him?
So,
What's that?
some,
Oh, somewhat. Yeah. To me, and I may be wrong, I may be out there, but there's a big difference being in fear of the Lord compared to being afraid of the Lord. Real big difference there, at least for me.
Some of the words that are used will describe more of a deep, healthy respect.
Yeah.
The word that's used. It's not the cowering type thing,
No.
you know, like.
No.
There is that for somebody who's evil,
Mm-hmm.
but for the people who walk with the Lord, it's just that deep
Yeah.
respect.
I kind of use the terminology of having reverence.
Yes.
Reverence is a good word, and unless somebody has one good or better, which I'm sure there are out there.
And to revere something is to hold it in high honor.
Have reverence, respect, honor, things along that nature. And not to be afraid, because there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing to be afraid of at all. We're, without sounding morbid.
Jonathan's perfect love casteth out all fear.
Uh-huh. Not to sound morbid, but we're all gonna leave this earth. Now, is it something we should be afraid of? I would say no. But yet, in the back of our minds, maybe there's just that slight minutia of, okay, it's coming, it's here, But really for us, that are followers of Christ, I don't want to sound nonchalant, but it's not really a big deal. You get to be with the Creator if you've been living a righteous life. That's nothing to be afraid of.
When you look at what the New Testament describes for a Christian, you use the word sleep.
Yeah, that term's used a lot too.
And now, it's not just dying.
Yeah,
It's like you go to sleep and then wake up.
yeah. I won't go into a lot of detail, but with my careers in the service and my work, there's been probably easily 8 or 9 times I should have been killed. I wasn't. And at the end of the shift, well, actually, when the events happened, my associates would come up to me and say, man, you were really lucky that you didn't die. Are you okay? Is everything all right? I says, yeah, I'm fine. I'm still in one piece. I don't have any holes in me. Yeah, I'm good. But like I said, there's a good 8 or 9 times that I should have got killed, but I didn't. And maybe God's got something for me to do. Maybe He's got a little bit more for me to do. I don't know. It's not for me to speculate on that. But we can be blessed in a lot of ways. We even have a hymn that we sing called, the title is "Count Your Blessings." Maybe we'll hear it before too long. Again. Alan, don't give me the evil eye. But anyway, yeah, count your blessings. let's just take today, for example. Did you wake up this morning? You're breathing? Did you have something to eat this morning? You got here. So, you know, you didn't get hit by a truck, or, you know, the earth didn't open up. Well, I don't know if they'll do it here, but in California, you never know. You could be driving one day, they call them sinkholes, and you're tootling along, and all of a sudden this car drops. You go, whoa, what happened there? What happened to this? You know, but anyway, yeah, you woke up this morning, you had a meal to eat, you made it to church. You're going to leave the service, and God willing, you're going to make it to lunch or home okay, you know. And a lot of times we take too much of that, you know, it's common, but we take it for granted. You get that mindset, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed tonight, and man, I really don't feel like going to work tomorrow. But you may not. You may not survive the night, you know, and God willing, everybody does, but something could happen to you, and you don't wake up that next morning, you know. And we take it so much for granted, we don't even really think about it. I mean, we're blessed every day. Whether a person takes the time to think about it or give thanks, you know, that's up to each individual. You know, for those that don't know, or those that are aware, I had a heart attack in June of 2019, June 11th, 2019. You know, got to the point they couldn't do much for me at the Sandoval Center, so they took me to UNM, get in there. And of course, I'm pumped full of different stuff that they gave me over here. So as they wheel me in, I'm going in and out, and I see about a dozen people around me dressed in white. And then I hear, I assume was one of the doctors, telling my wife, I can hear the part, well, he's having a massive heart attack right now. We need to get him in the back room. So I hear that, and I'm laying on the gurney, and I sit up, or I sit partially up, and I'm going, what? And I go, if I'm having a heart attack, how come I'm not dead? I go, shouldn't I be dead right now? And then I plop back down. And that's the last I remember until I was in the recovery room, you know. And I said, well, I shouldn't be here right now. And then I hear somebody, I don't know if it was my wife or my daughter, I could hear in the background saying, whatever you do, don't walk towards the bright light. And I'm thinking, who is that? You know, but I'm still so much under so much medication. It's like, but anyway, the point I'm going to get to is, I recovered. I got, they fixed me pretty good. But when I got home every morning, the first thing I do every morning is I thank God. I said, thank you for the day. Thank you that I'm able to see another day. Be around my family and my wife. And I do that every day. Now, I don't take any day for granted. I thought I didn't that much before, but now I really don't. But I mean, little things every day that that we're blessed with, we can be thankful for and appreciate it. Your 2-year-old kid that gets up before you do and comes and jumps into bed and wakes you up. Oh, go away, leave me alone. But whatever. You look back and, well, at least I do. And you appreciate those little things. Like I would tell my kids now, recently, now that they have kids of their own, they get upset, like little Johnny knocked over the glass of milk on the table, and they get all upset. I go, what are you getting all upset for? I said, just clean it up and give us some more. It's not a big deal. Things that we think are a major issue really aren't a big deal. But does a person take the time to think about that and look back on it? And, one way you can look at it is your 3 or 4-year-old son, child or grandchild You know, they get their crayons and they make this little scribbly thing and, oh, I made this for you. And you're looking at it like, thinking, well, what is this? You know? But if that child or grandchild were to die that afternoon or that evening, all of a sudden that little scribbly piece of paper means something. Well, why didn't it mean something to you before? You know, do we have to have a calamity or does something drastic have to happen? You know, you put it in a frame, you hang it on your wall, and you reflect on that. But why don't we do it now? Why do we do it after something happens? You know, I mean, it's just one of those things, you know, just to understand how blessed we really are. You know, you think back to when your kids were born, your grandkids were born, they laugh at things that are silly, they have that goofy little smile. You know, you look back on that. But a lot of us at the time, we don't. It's always when something drastic happens. You know, some people will talk about their grandparents. All mine are gone right now. Gone now. But, you know, maybe you think to yourself, what would you give to have just one more day? You know, there's a country song, I don't remember who the artist is, but it's titled One More Day. And he talks about his wife. What would he give to have just one more day? But, you know, they don't go into what the relationship was before that point, but now that she's gone, you know, I just want a little bit more time with them. You know, same thing with your kids and grandkids. You know, and we're blessed too, to start off, you know, to be born in this country, to be living in this country, you know. I've been to places where it's not so great like it is here. It's, you know, you reflect back on it, and a lot of the things that you see that you're exposed to, it's just heartbreaking, you know. Especially with kids, they're lucky to eat once a day or once every other day or a couple times a week. And here we throw away more food and, you know, we're just so wasteful. And there's people that would, you know, be glad to have your leftovers, your throwaways. So we'll close this out with one more reading. Can you read, Alan?
Yep.
Psalms 33:12. And to me, I think this is an admonishment. Psalm 33, verse 12.
Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people whom he has chosen as his heritage.
Now, that may have been the point many years ago, but in the recent times, I'm saying 20, 25, 30 years ago, does that sound like the United States now? I would venture to say no. You know, people go around and say, well, the United States is God's chosen country. We're God's chosen people. Well, look on the surface. Does it look that way? You know, there's so many things to be grateful for. All the advantages we have here in this country. But do we appreciate it? Go somewhere where you go to another country where you don't have these opportunities, where you don't have these rights to act like a fool. You know, that we see now in the last couple of years on TV. You know, everybody's demanding all these rights. I go, wow. You know, they hate a lot of people hate, in these groups, hate the military. You know, but that's what gives you the ability to enjoy what you have in this country. Like I said, there's other countries that don't allow that. A lot of people, the top thing recently now is all this tension against the police. And there are some bad ones out there, I'll admit that, I've seen it. But the good far outweigh the bad, you know. What they say, one good apple, one bad apple can destroy the whole barrel. But now there's this big thing on the police. But when the chips are down, when you're at home at 3 in the morning, and you got two clowns that broke into your house, you know, and threatened you with bodily harm, who are you gonna call? Your counselor? You know, some politician that didn't want to hear it, if he answers the phone? No, you're gonna call the police. And as bad as everything is with them, that the way they treat us, we still go. That's what we're supposed to do. Still go. But anyway, any closing comments, any questions, any points anybody wants to bring up?
And verse 16, no king is saved by the south to his army.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But like the verse that Alan read, that, to me anyway, that's pretty cut and dry. You know, is God going to continue to bless this nation? I wouldn't blame him if he didn't. I hate to see it. I hate to see the country that my grandkids are going to be exposed to in 20 years. If we're still around, you know. Okay. So this will conclude the lesson today. Come on in. So thank you for your time. Thank you